I finally made the switch over to Shudder instead of Netflix, and I immediately found a movie that seemed really interesting. It was called Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, I believe. Pretty long title, but it's a horror mockumentary. So it's about a documentary crew that follows a wannabe, I guess, like serial killer. And it's in the same universe as Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers. And I just thought even the premise was really interesting. I haven't watched many mockumentaries, so I found this one to be really well done. It actually came out all the way in 2006, and I feel like it was kind of ahead of its time. I mean, it's definitely in the same vein as Scream, and that came out in the 90s. The mockumentary I watched just feels ahead of its time. For some reason, it's just very meta, and it talks about all the horror tropes and cliches and uses them in a way that is new. And I just found it funny how they explain certain things about how the slasher stars are able to keep up with the victims without running, and they just walk. I don't know, it was just funny. They mentioned how much cardio he has to do and stuff. It kind of reminded me of Creep, specifically Creep 2, because the whole like following a serial killer thing, even though in Creep 1 and 2 they don't know it, in this they do. I don't know, it was just a really interesting concept, and I want to see more of it. I like how they had a retired slasher in it. It was just really funny, and how he had to go through a sensory deprivation thing in order to appear dead. It was just funny the way they mentioned the horror cliches. I went into this thinking it was just going to be a mockumentary, but there was still a sense of mystery, which was really interesting. At the end, it turns into an actual slasher, which I really enjoy. Like I said, I wasn't expecting that at all, since I've never heard anything about this previously. It was tense at the parts it needed to be tense, but at the parts it was funny, it was funny. So it just worked out really well. I also love how they played Psycho Killer by talking heads at the end. I mean, how could you hate a movie that plays that at the end, honestly? I really recommend checking this out if you have Shudder, and I also just recommend Shudder in general because it's only $5 a month and it's all horror all the time. Unlike Netflix, which is twice as much expensive and their horror selection isn't that good. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about this film, if you've heard of it, if you want to see more horror mockumentaries. I also heard that they are trying to do a prequel or a sequel, I think a prequel to this, but they can't really get the funding. So maybe you should definitely go and check this out if it sounds like it's up your alley and you would enjoy it. So that way they could make another one.